We'd now like to go on to the Q&A session. We'll take questions from people who are here on site, and then we'll be taking questions from people who are connected online. So please wait for the microphone to be brought over to you. Please state your name and affiliation before I ask your question. So we'll first begin with the people who are here on site. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Anyone? Yes, we'll go to the gentleman in the front row. Thank you. My name is Masuno from Nomura Securities. Well, we heard about the data center business, and you introduced to us your involvement in India. So you have 75% stake in Mumbai, and in the next project, in Navi Mumbai, you have 50% investment stake in the company or in this business. So NTT takes 70%, you're taking 30%, would actually show the structure. But why is it? But your company taking 50%, 70%, 75%, your investment ratio, your stake is very large compared to your partners. So what are the strengths that you have? Well, I suppose you can gain a lot of returns. But what is your strategic intention behind your taking on such a large stake in these data center businesses? That's my first question. And my second question, NTT TC Lease has 1.6 trillion yen balance. But in principle, as we see it, we do see that this enjoys very strong growth. Can this strong growth be sustained? What would drive the sustained increase or return for your business? So that's my second question. Please go ahead. Yes. Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for your comment. I do appreciate it. So the first point, your question was about the data center business that we're involved in India. So that was your question. As was covered in the presentation earlier, when it comes to IT equipment, since the past, we were involved in leasing. We were actively involved in the leasing of IT equipment. So we felt that we have a certain level of know-how with regard to IT equipment. Now against this backdrop, I talked about the capability of our asset management. So we own assets, we manage assets, and we dispose of these assets. That was our mainstay of the business in the first phase. So in the IT age, not only IT equipment but data is contained in these IT equipments. So our business model has changed. It has evolved from IT equipment down to data center business. And I think data center business is a natural extension of our business, and we feel that we should be involved in this business in the future. So that is the premise of our business. Now your question about investment. You asked about the breakdown of the investment between NTT and our company. Bearing in mind NTT's investment policies and intentions, we have continuous dialogue with our partner, and we make our decision. So going forward, I'm sure that there will be many projects. I will be very happy if there are many projects rather. But we have to bear in mind the investment policy of NTT and then consult them. And in places where we can contribute, we would like to contribute. So that is our basic position. Now your second question related to the earlier slide. In 2020, April, when we began the pro forma, we show you the balance. We show you the level of assets. Now, co-creation and collaboration really was very successful, and we were able to do this in a very speedy manner. Now, as far as Tokyo Century is concerned, they have their investment policy, and NTT TC Leasing has also investment policy. They have independent policies between the two companies, and they have the credit rating and the examinations are totally separate. So what the leasing, what the finance will be carried out by these two companies, they will independently make their decision. Against the backdrop, Tokyo Century's risk appetite and risk profile will be studied, and also NTT TC Leasing profile and risk appetite will not be identical. So when demand for customers emerge, I'm sure that these two companies, they will leverage their feature and try to respond to the customers. And from our side, we might invite NTT Leasing to join in a certain project, and vice versa could be true as well. So we have day-to-day communication with the two good companies. We have continuous dialogue about co-creation, and that has been very fruitful, and that has allowed us to grow this far. Now we began with auto leasing in the first place. We began to work in the auto leasing. We have this successful model already in place. And that has led well to the second collaboration. So this success has really led us to a very good growth track. And you see the dotted line image in a few years on the right-hand side of this page. It is our hope that we'll be able to grow the numbers further. Naturally, we have to improve our profitability as well. Make sure that we have to take initiatives so that our absolute level of profit can also grow. Thank you. That is my response. Thank you for your question.
Then at this point, from remote participants, if there are any questions we would like to accept, the operator will explain how to ask your question. Mitsubishi UFJ Morgan Stanley Securities, Mr. Tanaka, your question please. This is Tanaka speaking. Can you hear me? Yes, we hear you. Please go ahead. I have one question. Collaboration number 3, energy and environment business, 100 billion yen, solar power plant totaling 100 billion yen, page 14. What is the profitability situation? What is the outlook of profitability? Please explain. This is all from me. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you for the remote question. So, environment and energy business, we have started a fund together. What is the portfolio situation and the profitability outlook? I have received the question. As the earlier slide shows, in the red pins, you can see the actual projects. We will further accelerate. And December last year, we put together the framework and started our efforts. Therefore, as of this stage, there are various pipelines and due diligence are taking place. And for example, secondary exit renewable energy projects, if they exist, we want to buy and acquire them. The profitability for the individual projects and areas, they vary. But our stance is in consultation with NTT, we want to have certain profit orientation, and we have been working accordingly. And under this policy, the red pinned areas, we have a certain profit idea and IRR measures in our mind, which we cannot disclose about. But these are the projects, and we want to aim for projects more than our indexes or measures. And solar cell plants are highly popular these days. There's a lot of competition, but sourcing NTT Anode Energy has a lot of track record. And we have about 700 megawatt solar plant development. We have more than like 130 sites. We have track record. And lately, as we have been disclosing, the solar cell asset management, we have AMTM company established. And our asset management ability will be our weapon to secure the projects. Then, first of all, the fund is 100 billion yen. So there is no additional investment planned. You will be seeing possible projects coming and then be building up. Yes, we intend to build up within this fund. Thank you.
Okay, are there more questions from those in the floor? So we'll take a question from the gentleman in the fourth row. Thank you very much. My name is Ando from Daiwa Securities. Thank you for this opportunity. So you have this collaboration with NTT. You're doing a lot of business with NTT. That was what you introduced today in the course of your presentation. Now, in terms of your assets, how do you take risk for your asset between NTT and yourself and maybe a third party? Is there a difference in the risk-taking profile? Can you really work with different risk-taking profile among your different partners? And also, with NTT, how do you divide roles? This might be a very basic question. I would appreciate your sorting out this type of information for us. Thank you for your question. Your first question probably relates to NTT and TC Lease and our company and other lease companies and our people in the industry. How is there difference in the strategies for we structure our portfolio? You're interested in the differences in how we structure our portfolio. We have 5 trillion in asset right now. So if we do apple to comparison, it's not the same. On apple-to-apple basis, it's not the same between other companies. In terms of our portfolio, our conventional, we only have 30% of domestic conventional assets, which means that we need to consider how we allocate our assets at Tokyo Century, and we have to allocate our assets among the 4 major business segments. In the case of NTT Leasing, they are very safety oriented, very few non-performing loans. So they're a company that is involved in very healthy, sound fiscal management. When it comes to equity mezzanine, the risk taking. I mentioned the differences in risk profile. Again, risk appetite is different between our companies and them. So there's a difference in the returns that our companies are taking. But that is how we're working in this partnership. Now, turning to your second question. In the case of NTT Leasing and Tokyo Century, how do we divide roles? It's been 2 years. And I think we know how we do our business. We also are very knowledgeable about respective portfolios. So that being the case, this is what we want to do. So entities, we might recommend certain projects that we can recommend to NTT Leasing. We have garnered such experience in the past 2 years. So based on this know-how, we want to further strengthen our collaboration and our contact with NTT Leasing. Now, the difference between the third parties, that was one of the questions that you highlighted in your first question. Well, if we focus on leasing, then banks, independent operators like ourselves and manufacturers, there are a lot of different players involved in this leasing business. So we will bear in mind the features of the respective players, and then engage in this business. Thank you very much.
Many apologies, but in the interest of time, we would like to close the questions and answers session. At this point, I invite our president, Mr. Shimada.
So with Tokyo Century and our company, we've been working together since 2005. We have had very long-standing partnership with this company. And our partnership has gained even greater depth as time went by. So it's not just here in Japan, outside Japan, in overseas as well. And by the way, on October 1st, NTT Data Inc. will be launched. So I do hope that NTT Data Inc., they have their global business. And I do hope that we'll be able to gain the support of Tokyo Century so that we'll be able to gain greater growth going forward. Thank you, Mr. Baba. We look forward to Mr. Baba, thank you. We look forward to your continued support and cooperation. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.